All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to NCSA Live. My name is Phil Wells, and super excited to cover today's recruiting topic. I did want to acknowledge that we're live on YouTube, Facebook, as well as Twitter, and we will be taking some questions here at the end of the show. So if you have any, please feel free to submit those during. And I am not alone. I'm joined by recruiting manager, the infamous Kyle Winters. Kyle, how you doing?
I'm feeling very infamous today. It's great to be with you again, Phil, and plan on only getting more infamous as the day goes along.
There we go. There we go. That's the only way to be coming there for Kyle. Well, again, pleasure to have you, Kyle. And as I mentioned, super excited me and Kyle to cover today's recruiting topic. And it's noteworthy this time of year. We're going to be talking about the recruiting winter checklist. Okay, we'll touch on the recruiting checklist this winter for all grad classes from freshman year to senior year. We'll talk about some of those remaining opportunities for our seniors yet to be recruited. Again, it is not too late. And we'll also talk about some of the recruiting resolutions that we should probably have as we look to kick 2022 off strong right before putting a bow on 2021. So again, when it comes to the recruiting checklist, this is something we do all throughout the year. And really with this winter, it's really important that we end strong as well when it comes to our recruiting journey in 2021. So Kyle, I'll kick it to you right away when it just comes to our winter recruiting checklist. What are they?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few different things that freshmen can be doing. We're talking about December, January, February, predominantly these winter months. One of the best things that you can be doing as a freshman right now is think like a college coach. Landing a roster spot, it means understanding the basics of the recruiting funnel, and it's about understanding that college coaches, they start identifying prospects early on as freshmen, or even some cases eighth graders when they start building their list of their recruits for the upcoming classes. They're not just focused on the senior class. They have to build a pipeline of student athletes that they want to come into their program. So just understanding the way that college coaches approach the recruiting process in the first place, knowing that they're going to start early. They're going to create a very large, wide list of student athletes starting December, or even maybe before this. They're creating a list of student athletes they're going to have from the get-go. And then as the months and years progress, they're going to narrow that down to their best recruits. And so as a student athlete, very much the same. First you will learn the different aspects of the recruiting process, understand what that looks like. You want to determine what some recruiting resolutions are over probably these next couple months. Kind of figure out what your resume looks like and get that started, and then start to put together a list of schools that you would maybe have interest in. And then over time, that's something you're going to cultivate and develop down. But now it's a great time to start building that list that you're going to use as a starting point for who's going to be the types of schools that you want to take a look into.
Absolutely. I think really well depicted there when it comes to our freshmen and ultimately for every grad year. The beauty of the recruiting checklist is it's really letting us know what we should be doing as student athletes this time of year. We don't want to fall on that winter slump. And even as a freshman, it's really important that we start getting an idea of what college coaches are looking for, what college programs are looking for, and really how we can mold ourselves into that athlete as a freshman looking upon the next 3 to 4 years. Now, when we look at our sophomores, Kyle, just like you depicted, this is a time where that list of potential college programs we're interested in, it should be coming into fruition. We should have a pretty in-depth list, maybe about 30 schools at this point as a sophomore that we have on our list to target. Now, again, this can also be a rough list. This is typically a list of schools where you have some dream schools. Maybe you have a school on that list and you don't know why. Maybe you've seen it on the license plate somewhere, driving on a long road trip. This is that time to broaden that list. You should have a list of about 30 schools. But at the same time, looking at these winter months, this is that time period as a sophomore where we should really be looking to dive into that list. We should be looking to get an idea of how those 30 schools stack up in order in reference to meeting our personal preferences. This is the time where we want to dive into certain things like, school location, size, potential financial aid packages that we can get from that school. We want to dive into all these things. So now we can actually rank these 30 schools where we can have a top 5, a top 10, and so on and so forth. That way we can be a little bit more informed and a little bit more realistic about what we're shooting for ultimately before things get a whole lot more serious as a junior. Okay. Kyle, talk to us a little bit about transitioning out of that sophomore year, going into junior year, and how things can really become a whole lot more important.
Yeah, to expound on what you talked about for the sophomores, and we'll transition that into juniors. Um, Having that list, having that kind of built, and then starting to get on coaches' radars, starting to get some exposure, starting to get views on your profile, starting to have coaches that are following you. Hopefully having coaches that are opening and reading your emails as a sophomore. That's what we should be doing. Again, a lot of people think that junior, senior years when a lot of this happens, but actually starts way before that, just getting on college coaches' radars. And that can be updating your profile. It can be just really trying to understand and gauge your talent level. Am I a Division I student athlete? As a sophomore, you may not know 100%, but you might have an inkling. You can kind of do some research and see, this is a Division I program. Watch the bowl games coming up here in a couple weeks. What do these student athletes look like? And what, for my position, am I that size or even close to that size? Do I have those types of abilities? Just being very realistic with yourself. Compare to your favorites, like we talked about. Check out the NCSA power rankings, which we'll be coming out with, to understand what schools are out there, what the best schools are. Those are a ton of things you can be doing as a sophomore year. That way, by the time you're getting into your junior year, you can have a little bit more going on. The contact dates for hockey, men's hockey starts January 1st of sophomore year. The majority of other sports, they start the summer after sophomore year. June 15th is when basically the floodgates open for a lot of the contact. Some of them wait until about September 1st before junior year. That's really where all the contact starts for these coaches and student athletes who've been prepping over the last couple of years. Another piece you can be looking into is like the FAFSA. It's really overlooked when it comes to determining how you're going to pay for college. But that's what this is all about, is estimating your financial aid, how much money you're going to be able to get, whether that's loans or grants or whatever it may be when it comes to paying for college. It's a great thing to start talking about, start thinking about as you're transitioning sophomore going into junior year. That's a huge step in the recruiting process that, again, starts freshman year and transitions through junior year. And hopefully we'll talk about senior year in a second, but I'll kind of turn it back to you, Phil, for just, the other steps that people can be taking here in their junior year.
Absolutely. I think this is a big year of organization. Okay, we've already had 2 years, freshman and sophomore year, of really getting the foundation laid when it comes to the recruiting process. And as a junior, now we want to reflect a little bit on our organization and really, for starts, dive into your ACT, SAT scores. Okay, at this point, we know that as a result of the pandemic, not every program out there is still requiring ACT, SAT scores. We know the NCAA has actually waived it for the next couple grad years. But again, not every institution is waiving it. Okay, that's still going to be a really important test. When we talk about organization, when we talk about research as a junior, looking at our list of schools, that list of 30 schools that we've hopefully trimmed down a little bit by this point, we need to reach out to those schools. We need to determine, hey, do we need a test score to meet the requirements of that particular school? And what does that test score need to look like? Because again, if we need to get a higher test score, if we need to take the ACT or SAT and didn't plan on it, we want to know that sooner rather than later, so we can get all our ducks in a row when it comes to looking at a specific program. And when it comes down to looking at things like ACT or SAT, all of that funnels up to, as a junior, really just our eligibility. Okay, as a junior, this is a big time to really spot check our eligibility and amateurism amongst all programs. Okay, it's your responsibility as a student athlete, especially junior year, to make sure we're either on track for eligibility for a specific college or already eligible. And certain ways we do that is making sure we have the correct courses, making sure we have the correct test score, making sure we're reaching out to that program and looking at their current student body, looking at their current athletic sport body. We want to get an idea of all that stuff because, again, the last thing we want is to, be listed as a top prospect, a top recruit, or accept some kind of opportunity to a college program. But wait, we need one more, foreign language to solidify our eligibility. Oh, but wait, we didn't have the GPA that this particular school needed. But wait, we thought we needed to take the ACT or SAT, or we didn't think we needed to take it, and now we do. We do not want to run into those situations because we know the recruiting process already can be very much weighing and taxing if we're not organized. So junior year is a big year of eligibility and organization, really just making sure we can get all our ducks in a row and we're remaining eligible. And it should never be an aspect of not getting recruited because we didn't know our eligibility or amateurism requirements.
For sure. Yeah. And we probably turn things over to senior year from there. In a perfect world, what we typically talk about is that by the time student athletes are entering their senior year, we've basically wrapped up the recruiting process. The only thing we need to do is sign on the dotted line, sign our national letter of intent, accept our scholarship, and basically take a victory lap in our senior year, getting ready to go play in college next year. But obviously we know that's not the case for everyone. For a lot of seniors, we're maybe playing a little bit catch up. There are still opportunities out there. There are still schools and coaches that are looking for student athletes in the 2022 class for seniors right now. Continue applying to schools. Make sure you're registering with the NAI Eligibility Center if you haven't already. If you haven't registered with the NCAA, probably a good idea to register with them as well. If you have some offers, obviously you're comparing those and figuring out which one's going to be the best one for you at this point. As of right now, for most sports other than football, we've entered the early signing period, essentially the signing period. Basketball has an early signing period that's already ended, but we're in the signing period that's going to run through August of next year. So this is really go time. If you don't have those offers, if you're not verbally committed, if you're not signing a national letter of intent right now, it's time to start thinking about what options are out there. We need to expand our list, be much more open to travel, much more open to division level, incorporating D2, D3, NAI, even junior college, much more open to just the different opportunities out there. Because the reality is, unfortunately, as a senior, there are going to be schools, there are going to be coaches that are no longer recruiting our class. I faced this fact myself as a senior in high school, as a very good baseball player, who ended up with a Division I scholarship. But most of the schools that I initially was interested in, my top schools, they were done recruiting my class by the time I got to my senior year. So there are still opportunities out there right now. We have the Division I football signing period coming up here in December. It's not too far out. You're about a week out or so. So there are still opportunities out there, but it's go time. It's time for us to start to get caught up if we are just now taking our first steps. And Phil went a little bit of a different route, going to a post-grad year, but he can probably elaborate a little bit more on what else seniors can be doing right now to get themselves caught up.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a time period where, like you mentioned, Kyle, we want it to be a victory lap. It often is not. It often still holds a lot of work to do. And my route wasn't as traditional because I would be the first to admit I wasn't as prepared. I didn't research the opportunities that I may have had right out the gate. I wasn't super aware, and all I knew was that I wanted more. But as a senior, we have to have all that in a row. We have to get an idea of the programs that we have on the table. And really, we have to use the programs we have on the table. And when I say that, I mean any kind of scholarship opportunity, any kind of walk-on opportunity, any kind of roster spot opportunity. We have to use that as either a high point, and we have to really think about, where we're going to go out of those opportunities we may have on the table, or use that as a negotiating factor. Okay, as a senior, in some cases, we have to be master negotiators. Okay, and it's an old adage when it comes to the recruiting process on the scholarship realm. They say it only takes one to get more. Okay, college coaches, they're very much looking to build championship rosters. They're in competition with each other. So even as a senior, okay, you may have college coaches out there who are still absolutely competing to fill roster spots. Within those programs, you have to do the research to find them. Okay, and a lot of times we can leverage the opportunities we have currently to reach out to other programs saying, hey, I do have this on the table, but I am very interested in your program. Do you have further roster spots still available? We have to use it as a leveraging opportunity to make sure, again, regardless of what the recruiting process looks like, regardless of, again, what college programs look like and what opportunities look like, we're satisfying our personal preferences. And the only way we can do that, especially as a senior, is completely researching any opportunities that we may currently have but also being a go-getter and making sure we can reach out as a leveraging point with current opportunities, or just with extreme will to reach out and land our first opportunity if we haven't just yet, by asking the right questions like, what roster spots do you still have available? What financial aid packages do you still have available? A lot of different things we can actually go towards. And really it pertains to every single grad year, okay, especially our seniors, but every single one. Think about some New Year's resolutions. We always have New Year's resolutions for other facets of our life. The recruiting process should be the same. Think about recruiting resolutions as you look to turn over a year. Now, again, these can be a little bit more in depth, when we look at underclassmen, because we know there's still a lot of development to do. But as a senior, as an upperclassman, it can be straightforward. Okay, think about certain things, whether it be developing further athletically. Maybe we weren't on varsity, this prior year. Let's make that a goal going into the new year. That's more so for an underclassman. If we're looking at an upperclassman going into the new year, maybe we want to increase, some of our metrics in the weight room. Maybe we want to increase some of our stats on the field or on the court. Make that a goal, and it becomes a really good leveraging tool as well when it comes to communicating with college coaches and letting them know what you've been working on. Where are you from, year over year productivity? Showcasing all that kind of stuff to college coaches is great, because it also shows that once you get to the college level, you're always going to continuously develop. You're going to continuously work on yourself by getting better. Kyle, again, I know things were a little bit different, but when it comes to, again, resolutions, any other helpful resolutions that we can really implement regardless of grad year going into this 2022?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to kind of circle back to the negotiating aspect of things. Again, all this information is available to you guys on our website, ncsasports.org. You guys can check out the winter recruiting checklist for high school student athletes. Has everything that we've talked about in a little bit more depth laid out for you guys. So make sure to go to our website to get a little bit more information. But we talked a little bit about negotiating scholarships. I don't know about you, Phil. I don't know about anybody else out there. But at 17 years old, I wasn't exactly a master negotiator. I'm definitely not a master negotiator now either, quite a few years later. But it comes with practice. It comes with practice, and that takes, just practice communication with college coaches in general. You don't want to wait until senior year to figure out how to do that. You want to get better at just communication. You want to have practice with parents. You want to have conversations with our recruiting coaches here who can talk you through what that conversation is going to sound like. So that's a great resolution to have, is just have more conversations to help you prepare for conversations with college coaches. And that's going to help put you in a better place to have those types of conversations when you're bartering and talking about the offers you have with other coaches and trying to negotiate that for more scholarship money. If you have offers on the table, that's obviously going to be the best bargaining chip you can utilize for more offers and more scholarship money as well. So that's great stuff for the grad years and our winter recruiting list. We'll turn it to some questions to answer any guys' questions you guys have, whether it's about the winter recruiting checklist or about questions in general about recruiting. So we'll dive into those. Phil, if you want to take them away.
Absolutely. So it looks like a comment from Cheryl. We have, my son is a part of NCSA since 8th grade. Lawrence B. Steiner, a 10th grade, all A's, 30 tackles this season. So it looks like a comment there from Cheryl. Looks like a really impressive coming there from Cheryl's son. Big time there from Cheryl. We appreciate you making that comment, and obviously a whole lot of bright things to come up there when it comes to your son. Hopefully he's following that winter recruiting checklist.
Yeah, Cheryl, crushing it. Great job by your son so far. Hopefully, he's getting some views, getting some looks, getting some coaches open to his emails.
All right, we got another one there. What about seniors who still want to be recruited? What about seniors who still want to be recruited? What do we have to do now? So we just touched on that a little bit. There's still absolutely opportunities out there for, again, seniors who are still looking to be recruited. And even though we're currently in a signing period and we have signing periods approaching, all is not lost. The best thing you can do, number one, is, again, having an NCSA profile so those remaining college coaches out there still looking at seniors can see you as a candidate still looking for opportunities. You also want to be proactive as a senior right now by reaching out to college programs to ask, hey, are you still looking at seniors? Because if you're not, then we want to move on. All right, we have another one coming up. Kyle, I'll kick this one at you. Do you have any suggestions for a senior who has been accepted to colleges on academics and looking to pursue the athletic program but not yet recruited?
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate you asking, Javier. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be an uphill battle for everyone else out there. We can kind of take this as a cautionary tale. A lot of people going through this process think that it's like high school, where you go to the school and then try out for the team when you get to a university or get to a college. It's really not like that. It's not that process at all. It's college coaches' jobs to recruit student athletes from high school to bring them into their program, to make their program better, and then obviously to have success while they're coaching those student athletes in college. So for you in this situation, Javier, it's great that he's been accepted to schools. When it comes to those specific programs, unfortunately, they may no longer be looking for seniors. What you can do is you can reach out directly to those college coaches, which means pick up the phone. You guys got to call those college coaches immediately. Their names will be on the website, or we can show you how to access them through NCSA as well. Call those coaches immediately. Ask them, do you have roster spots available for 2022 graduates at my son's position, whatever sport it may be? Be very direct, very descriptive. Do you guys have availability at these roster spots? If not, odds are it's going to be probably difficult. You may not be able to play that sport at that school. You can ask if they're going to have walk-on opportunities, if they're going to have walk-on tryouts, which they may or may not. If not, again, those are probably not going to be great options for your student athlete to go play there. That being said, if they still are open to opportunities outside of the schools you've applied for, it's going to be about trying to get in touch with those schools, trying to get out in front of those coaches as soon as possible who would take interest in your student athlete as an athlete and as a student as well. So it's going to be about trying to see what's available out there, which again, we can talk you through that. We can kind of help you with the process on what to do, what schools are still looking right now. But again, a cautionary tale right here that don't approach this as I'm going to apply to this school, then I'm going to try and figure out how I can play at that school. It needs to be a combination from the start. And that goes for every student athlete that goes through this process, especially if you're looking for scholarship money, especially if you're looking for a school that's going to be the right fit athletically and academically. So Javier, get in touch with us if need be, and we can kind of talk you through that. I think we have another couple questions to go here as well. Go ahead, Phil.
Absolutely. Looks like we have one based upon a profile on our network. If I make an edit to my profile, new video, update transcripts, so on and so forth, do any of my coach followers get notifications of my update? A really good question there, and the answer is yes. College coaches that are following you in our network, meaning they've actually, to a certain extent, subscribed to your profile, they will get the necessary updates that you make to your profile. That way they can always be in a loop with any necessary changes you make to your profile. And obviously that can be very impactful when we look at things like, growth spurts, from 5'5" to 6 foot. When we see improvement in transcripts, footage, anything we edit amongst that profile can always look appeasing to a college coach, especially when they get those updates to those that they follow. All right. Another couple questions here. Looks like from Tyree. What is the best practice for narrowing down a target in safety schools? We have 20 plus target schools, top 5 ranking Division II state division schools, and top 3 nationwide. Safety schools, we have 5 nationally. Okay, I'll kick that one over to you.
Tyree, this is exactly what I'm talking about right here. You are on the ball, my friend. This is the way we should be approaching it. Having these schools laid out and kind of narrowing it down from there. It's going to kind of come down to your preference. It's going to come down to your preference and really what those coaches are looking for as well. So let's say that every single one of those coaches that you have on that list, they are interested in you as a student athlete. It's probably not realistic, but we can kind of look at it that way. It's going to come down to which one of these schools has your goals best in mind, whether that's scholarship opportunity, whether that's your major, whether that's on-campus lifestyle, regionally, how close to home it may be. All of those factors are going to be important to you, really trying to narrow down which one of those schools fits your preferences most sufficiently. In a real world, obviously, again, not every single one of those schools is going to be interested in you. So the best way to start narrowing that down, figure out which schools are and are not interested in you. That can come from reaching out to those coaches to see if they respond, getting your highlight video in front of them, getting your profile and video in front of them. emailing them about their interest. If they don't get back to you after 1-2 emails and a phone call, we can probably assume for the time being they're not interested in you. You can cross that one off the list. If it's one of your top schools, that may be unfortunate. It's worth revisiting it down the road, but probably a telltale sign that they're not interested at this point. You can cross it off and move on to the next one. And use that same process with every school on your list. Whichever schools that have everything that you're looking for, your preferences, and are interested in you as a prospect, you're going to be able to narrow that down through the process of elimination to find the school that's going to be the right fit for you. If you're doing the right things, it's going to take a little bit more work from here. So keep up the good work, Tyree. I think we have one more question before we go to our commitments, Phil.
Absolutely. So last question there from Kirby. I have twins that are juniors. What do I need to do to get started helping them get looked at? They go to a small high school. That's a really good question there from Kirby, and I think we'll start from the backwards engineer there. Number one, 90% or more of recruiting is done online. So especially when it comes to the twins going to a smaller high school, as a first step, if you haven't already, start your NCSA profile. Start getting some online exposure, even within being in a small high school. Because again, college coaches, their main tool for evaluating and prospecting when it comes to athletes is searching online. So number one, your twins, they need to be online. They need to have online resumes. You can do that with their NCSA profile. Now, the other aspect of it is I can maybe assume that this is a newer process for the twins. And with that in regard, with them being juniors, we do want to backtrack a little bit to our sophomore checklist. We want to make sure we have some kind of idea of what our preferences look like as juniors so we can know what to shoot for. We want to know what kind of programs that would be ideal for the twins and family, whether that pertains to location, size, or cost of a college. Once we have some kind of idea outlined and we have a few programs outlined, as a junior, in addition to making sure we have a good online presence, we want to do things to stimulate that online presence. And that may be reaching out directly to college programs that you're interested in, making sure you can send off emails directly to college programs you're interested in, containing video, containing your NCSA profile link, doing everything we can as a junior to make sure we're getting on a radar on top of, again, having that online presence. Kyle, anything to add as far as just helping out the twins there as juniors?
No, I think that's really good advice. I think you kind of wrapped it up and put that into a good perspective. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us directly. For more information, again, go to our website, ncsasports.org. Check out the winter recruiting checklist for a little bit more detail on everything we talked about and quite a bit more. It's actually really detailed and great information for you guys to be looking at for each grad year, freshman through senior year. It's never too late to be working on this. So get on it early and be very thorough with your recruiting process. We'll turn things over to our commitments for the day. As we talked about, we've had in the 2021 class just under 30,000 student athletes use NCSA and go on to commit to play their sport in college. We're highlighting a couple of them here today, as we always do. First one we have coming up here today, Adeka Day, headed to Dominican University. Adeka and her brother are using NCSA. Adeka's a lacrosse player, obviously. Actually started using NCSA back about a year and a half ago in July of 2022. Very proactive. A lot of activity from college coaches. Had 88 different emails opened by college coaches in the last year and a half that she's been emailing coaches through her NCSA profile. And what I always say is that a Adeka Day keeps the doctor away. So congrats to you, Adeka.
Love that, Kyle. Adeka Day keep the doctor away.
Awesome. Then back to me again here with our second commit. Apologize for that joke, but I thought it was amazing, Adeka. So Colby Stabile is our second commit here today. This is actually another unique scenario, unique situation where Colby's a student athlete who started using a membership with us in 2017. He actually graduated high school in 2020. Ended up going to be a two-way athlete, two-way baseball player at a school, and was at Gardner-Webb University and ended up transferring. Wanted to go to a school down in Florida, and mission accomplished, is headed to Kaiser University. Again, was able to connect with Pat O'Malley, his recruiting coach here with NCSA, and find a new home, which, obviously that's not ideal. We don't talk about the transferring process all that often, but it's something we do help out with and helping student athletes find their future home. So congrats to you, Colby. And I'll turn it to you, Phil, for our last commit today.
Absolutely. Certainly a happy shout out there for Kobe as well as Adeka. And lastly, again, we want to shout out Jenna Walters, actually going over to Quincy University. And obviously just an amazing action shot as a testament of some of Jenna's hard work there on the court, on the volleyball court. But a little bit about Jenna, just like Kobe, Jenna did sign up with NCSA a little bit ago, joined our network back in 2018. Jenna was extremely active. Maybe she knew about that recruiting checklist early on. Every single year, Jenna did things from uploading different videos, different stats, keeping college coaches up to date with her transcripts year by year. Everything that a college coach would ever look to evaluate, Jenna has been on top of it, coming across the several years here in her recruiting journey. And just a couple stats amongst some of the efforts from Jenna. She's had 64 direct views from college coaches on her profile, 383 college searches coming up in Jenna's recruiting profile, and then 18 direct follows from college coaches as well. And again, we just talked about that a little bit to a certain degree when answering questions where, again, college coaches who are following you directly actually get notified when we're updating your profile. Jenna obviously had 18 different college coaches following her directly. And obviously, I'm sure they were appeased by the many different updates that Jenna made throughout the years. But obviously, again, she's found her home at the awesome school, Quincy University, Division II here in Illinois. Go Hawks. Within that, Jenna, huge congratulations to you. And obviously, huge congratulations to all three of our commits.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the questions. And hopefully, again, this gives you guys a good pointed direction for what to be doing here over these next few winter months, because recruiting never sleeps. This is a huge time in the process when coaches are figuring out their next steps for the spring and summer moving forward from there. I'll be back next week with David Kamisic for our last NCSA Live of 2021. Hard to believe it's already come down to that, but we'll be talking to you guys again next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Central Time. Phil, it's great being with you again as always.
Absolutely, Kyle. It's been a pleasure.
Talk later.